Hello there everyone, this is Mr. Brass, and today this will be the last video of the Crusade series where I'll be clearing up misconceptions about the Crusades and telling you the conclusions I've drawn from it. While we like to think on the Muslim side of the wars against Christians that they were jihad, aka holy war based, but in reality that's more of the 8th century ideas, and by the time of the First Crusades, jihad more or less came to be about battling others of the orthodoxy of Islam rather than engaging in holy wars with Christians, and in fact it wasn't until the later Crusades where jihad became more holy war based and it became more physical in place. To show how jihad was more on a spiritual level at times, after the Third Crusades it was common for military rulers to focus on more religious teachings to people. Muslims' perception of the Crusades really didn't mean as much as Jerusalem wasn't like principled power land to them or an economic hotspot to them. People were uninterested in recording such battles with the Crusaders, and when they did, a bias could often be seen. Sure, Jerusalem held spiritual worth, but it's not like Jerusalem was an economic center. Christians themselves didn't go in with the hopes of converting Muslims to Christianity and were mainly trying to expand, defend, and recover land. With the little interest in recording military events, the Crusades were very much not widespread talked about in the Islamic world. In the medieval Muslim ages, it was considered a war Muslims triumphed over Christians with and was seen as a largely irrelevant conflict. Muslims forgot about the Crusades and it stayed that way until the 19th century, and the first history of it in the Arab language wasn't brought in until the 1898 book entitled Splendid Accounts in the Crusading Wars by the Egyptian scholar Sayyid Ali al-Ahari. Even in the 19th century, information of the Crusades was mainly known only by Muslim intellectuals. It wasn't until the 20th century where it really picked up because Europeans collapsed the Ottoman Empire and brung a distorted and notoriously anti-Catholic view of the Crusades. 18th century Enlightenment works from Edward Gibbon and Voltaire gained widespread use in spreading this poor history, as the men were notoriously anti-clerical and believed the war to be a bunch of superstitious nonsense. The Europeans were depicted as barbarians who sought destruction on Muslims, and this history of bad history has impacted our relations with the Middle East for the worse, with men like Osama bin Laden bringing up the Crusades for comparisons of military wars with the USA. So before relatively recently, there was really no sense of the Muslims thinking Crusaders had aggressed war on them, or that the Christians had to pay back atrocities in the Crusades. Overall, the Crusades were a very interesting time to me, and it is sad to see that many people have a poor understanding of the history of these times. I hope my video series has been helpful and have gained my viewers knowledge of these times, and they can know a thing or two about the Crusades. Well, that is all for today. This is Mr. Brass saying goodbye and get wise.